All right, get ready, because we're taking a deep dive into Cassandra Clare's City of Glass.
The third book in the Mortal Instruments series.
Exactly. And, we've covered the first two books already, but I think this one,
Takes things to a whole new level.
definitely, this is where we really start to see Clary come into her own. She's not just reacting anymore.
She's making choices, facing consequences, and really stepping into her power.
Right. And a lot of that happens in Idris, the Shadowhunter homeland.
Which is like this whole secret world hidden within our own, full of
Uh-huh.
history and tradition and danger, of course.
So Clary travels to Idris to save her mom, Jocelyn, but she's also drawn there by, well, let's be honest, her feelings for Jace.
And Simon definitely picks up on that, doesn't he? He sees how Clary looks at Jace.
Yeah, even though Jace keeps calling her little sister.
Which, come on, is such a classic Jace move, right? Trying to deny his feelings, push Clary away.
But at the same time, he offers to face a warlock in her place, so it's like he's sending mixed signals.
Exactly. It's like he wants to protect her, but he's also afraid of getting too close.
And that probably has a lot to do with his upbringing, being raised by Valentine, never really experiencing true love or family.
Absolutely. His past is a huge part of who he is and how he interacts with the world, especially with Clary.
And then there's Simon, who's becoming increasingly perceptive to all these Shadowhunter dynamics.
He calls Jace out for putting his own desires before Clary's, which is a pretty bold move.
It shows how much Simon has grown since the first book. He's not just the goofy sidekick anymore.
He's becoming a force to be reckoned with, and his transformation in this book is pretty wild.
Yeah, talk about a game changer, becoming a daylighter because of Jace's blood.
Which creates this whole other layer of complexity to their relationship, like a twisted blood brother situation.
And it makes you wonder what Valentine was really up to with all this bloodline obsession.
Right, why give Jace angel blood and Jonathan demon blood? What was his end game?
It's like he was experimenting with different kinds of power,
Yeah.
seeing what each would yield.
And then, just when things couldn't get more complicated, the Institute is attacked by Forsaken.
Yeah, that scene is pure chaos. Suddenly, the mundane world outside seems so peaceful compared to the demonic battle raging within.
It really highlights that constant tension Shadowhunters face, living between two worlds, protecting one while remaining hidden from the other.
And for Simon, this attack has life-altering consequences.
Yeah, he's nearly killed, and it's Jace's blood that saves him, but it also turns him into a daylighter.
Which is pretty ironic, considering how much Jace initially resisted the idea of Simon being involved in the Shadowhunter world.
And then we have Isabel stepping up to explain everything to Simon.
Yeah, there's definitely a spark between them, but it's complicated.
Simon even says she's too bright for him.
Maybe a bit of self-doubt there, or maybe he's sensing a depth in her that he's not quite ready for.
Could be both. And then we have Simon arriving in Idris, which is a whole other world compared to Brooklyn.
He even compares it to a memory of Tuscany.
It's like stepping into a legend, a place where history is alive in every stone.
And it's there that we meet Amadis Herondale, Jace's aunt.
Who's this embodiment of Shadowhunter tradition, duty-bound, and a bit intimidating.
You can already sense the tension between her and Clary, who's more impulsive and emotional.
Yeah, they clash from the start, and then we have the Inquisitor arriving, who's basically the embodiment of the Clave's power.
And they're immediately suspicious of Simon's daylighter status.
It's like they're more concerned with control than understanding they see anything different as a threat.
Which is interesting because it speaks to that larger theme of tradition versus change that runs throughout the series.
The Claves, for all their good intentions, can be pretty rigid and judgmental, especially towards downworlders.
And then we have Jace doing something pretty unexpected, asking Simon to lie about Clary's decision not to come to Idris.
It shows how desperate he is to protect her, even if it means breaking the rules.
But Simon refuses. And I think it's because he sees that Jace is acting out of his own desires, not necessarily what's best for Clary.
Yeah, he's starting to understand the complexities of Jace's character, and he's not afraid to call him out on it.
Meanwhile, Clary finally arrives in Idris, but it's not exactly a happy reunion.
She witnesses the death of Madeline, Jocelyn's friend.
Which is tragic, but it also highlights the dangers of this world, the constant threat that Shadowhunters face.
And then she's thrown into the Inquisitor's interrogation of Simon.
Talk about trial by fire. Clary sees firsthand how manipulative and distrustful the Clave can be.
And poor Simon, he's accused of being a spy for Valentine, imprisoned in the guard, and facing all these accusations.
It's clear he's become a pawn in a much larger game, and the players aren't always clear.
And while all this is happening, Clary seeks comfort in exploring Amadis's belongings.
She finds a silver dress that reminds her of her mom, which is a touching moment amidst all the chaos.
It shows her longing for connection, for a sense of belonging in this world that feels so foreign to her.
But her interactions with Amadeus remain strained. It's like they're both carrying the weight of past hurts.
And then we have Jace risking everything to try and free Simon from the guard.
It's a reckless act of defiance, but it also shows how much he cares about Simon, despite their differences.
It's like he's finally realizing that true loyalty means standing by someone even when they make choices you don't agree with.
And Simon, trapped in the guard, is starting to see the bigger picture.
He understands the Clave's suspicion of the Lightwoods, and he realizes how deep the divisions within the Shadowhunter world run.
He's not just the outsider looking in anymore. He's caught in the web of their relationships and political maneuvering.
And it's at this point that Clary, feeling increasingly isolated and desperate, encounters Sebastian Verlac.
And there's something about him that just seems off, a little too perfect, too eager to help.
Trust your instincts. The Shadowhunter world is full of facades, and Sebastian's arrival is about to shake things up in a big way.
But we'll dive into that in part 2 of our deep dive. When we left off, Clary was turning to Sebastian for help, and I think we all had a feeling.
That he wasn't who he seemed to be.
Yeah, those alarm bells were definitely ringing, and of course...
It turns out our suspicions were right.
Sebastian Verlac, charming, helpful, and completely fake.
A carefully constructed identity, hiding a much darker truth.
Jonathan Valenteri, Christopher Morgenstern, Clary's brother, raised by Valentine to be his weapon.
Talk about a family reunion you don't want to be a part of.
It makes you wonder how much of his personality is nature versus nurture, right? I mean, raised by Valentine, it's no wonder he turned out so twisted.
It's a classic case of a kid being molded into something he wasn't meant to be, a tool for someone else's ambition.
And for Clary, it's got to be devastating. Finding out this guy she's starting to trust is actually her brother, and not just any brother, but one raised to destroy everything she holds dear.
It throws everything into question, right? Their interactions, his motives, even those little moments that seem genuine, you start to wonder if it was all an act.
It's like a rug being pulled out from under you. The ground you thought was solid suddenly crumbles away.
And remember, all this is happening while Clary's trying to find Ragnar Fell, hoping he can help wake Jocelyn.
Which brings us to that scene with Magnus Bane.
The master of dramatic entrances.
He just appears out of thin air, freezes Sebastian with a flick of his wrist, and announces he's been impersonating Ragnar Fell this whole time.
It's so Magnus, right? Always a few steps ahead of everyone else, playing his own game.
But why go through all that trouble? What's the point of pretending to be Ragnar Fell?
Protection. He's trying to keep something out of Valentine's hands, something called the Book of the White.
The Book of the White? What is that?
It's shrouded in mystery, but we know it's powerful, connected to angels, and Valentine believes it's the key to achieving his goals.
So Magnus is playing a dangerous game, trying to outmaneuver Valentine, protect Jocelyn, and keep this powerful book hidden.
Exactly, and he's using all his tricks, his magic, his wit, even that Logos language of fire letters to communicate with other warlocks.
It's like a secret code, another layer of concealment in a world already full of secrets.
And while all this is going on, remember, Simon is still stuck in the guard, facing the Inquisitor's scrutiny.
They just can't wrap their heads around his daylighter status, convinced he must be a threat.
It's that classic Clave mentality, fear of the unknown, anything different must be dangerous.
But then Raphael shows up, leader of the New York vampire clan, and he drops a bombshell.
He questions the source of Simon's daylighter powers, suggesting that Valentine might be interested in Simon's blood.
Which adds a whole other layer of danger to the situation, right?
Yeah.
Now, Simon's not just a suspected spy. He's potentially a valuable asset to Valentine.
And it makes you think back to Jace giving Simon his blood. That act of sacrifice suddenly takes on new meaning.
Yeah, it wasn't just about saving Simon's life. It might have inadvertently made him a target.
It's a reminder that even the smallest actions can have unintended consequences in this world.
And speaking of unintended consequences, Clary and Sebastian head to the Fairchild Manor.
The place where it all began, Valentine's former home, a place steeped in darkness and secrets.
And it's there that Jonathan, finally dropping the Sebastian facade, reveals his true nature.
Cruel, manipulative, and disturbingly obsessed with Clary.
He talks about their shared blood, their connection, but it's twisted, distorted by Valentine's influence.
It's like he's trying to force a bond that was never meant to be, a bond built on manipulation and control, not love.
And Clary, she's horrified. Realizing the extent of Jonathan's darkness, the depth of Valentine's betrayal.
It's a crushing realization, shattering any hope that Jonathan could be redeemed, that
Mm.
their family can be whole.
And while all this is happening, Jace is wrestling with his own demons.
He's furious with the Clave for their treatment of Simon, their blind adherence to tradition, their refusal to see the truth.
He's starting to question everything he's ever known, the rules he's always followed, the authority he's always respected.
It's like he's finally seeing the cracks in the system, the flaws in the world he was raised to protect.
And out of that frustration, out of that desire to do what's right, Clary creates something extraordinary.
The Alliance Rune, a symbol of unity between Shadowhunters and Downworlders.
A bold statement, a rejection of the Clave's divisive policies, a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink of war.
It's a testament to Clary's unique power, her ability to create something new, something that challenges the status quo.
And it couldn't come at a more crucial time because Valentine, sensing the shift in power, delivers an ultimatum.
Surrender or face annihilation.
The stakes have never been higher, the lines are drawn, and the battle for the fate of the Shadowhunter world is about to begin. Last time, Valentine issued his ultimatum, surrender or face his full might, and it seems like there's no easy way out of this.
No, not really. I mean, he's got a whole demon army at his disposal, and he's not afraid to use it.
Plus, he's got Jonathan, who's basically a walking weapon of destruction.
Right, Valentine's twisted masterpiece, loyal only to him.
And to make matters worse, Jocelyn's finally awake, but her return brings more questions than answers.
Yeah, she reveals Valentine's whole backstory, his descent into darkness, his obsession with bloodlines, and his experiments on his own children.
Which, by the way, is beyond disturbing. Like, what kind of person does that to their own kids?
Someone driven by a twisted sense of ambition. Someone who believes the ends justify the means.
And the biggest bombshell of all, the truth about Jace.
Yeah, no demon blood there, pure angel blood.
It changes everything we thought we knew about him, his connection to Valentine, his powers, everything.
It makes you wonder what Valentine was really trying to achieve, creating these two sons, one with demon blood, one with angel blood.
Was he trying to create some kind of ultimate warrior, a perfect balance of light and dark?
Or was it something even more sinister, some kind of twisted experiment to see what he could control, what he could manipulate?
It's scary to think about, and for Jace, it's got to be a huge shock, realizing the truth about his origins, his connection to the angelic realm.
Absolutely, it throws his whole identity into question, everything he thought he knew about himself.
But amidst all this darkness, there is a spark of hope, Clary's Alliance Rune, a symbol of unity between Shadowhunters and Downworlders.
It's a powerful statement, a rejection of Valentine's divisive ideology, a belief in something better.
And it couldn't come at a more crucial time because the battle for Alicante is about to begin.
Yeah, things are about to get real. Valentine unleashes his demon army, and the city is plunged into chaos.
It's a scene of utter devastation. Demons rampaging through the streets, Shadowhunters fighting for their lives.
And in the midst of all this, Jonathan reveals his true allegiance, launching a brutal attack on Jace.
It's a betrayal that cuts deep, shattering any hope of reconciliation between these two brothers.
It shows how far Jonathan has fallen under Valentine's influence, how twisted his perception of love and loyalty has become.
It's heartbreaking to watch, and as the battle rages, Clary realizes she has to do something drastic.
So she does what she does best. She creates a rune, but not just any rune. This one is powerful, dangerous even.
She summons the angel Raziel.
Which is a huge gamble. Summoning an angel is no small feat. It could go horribly wrong.
But Clary's desperate. She knows that only an angel can defeat Valentine, can restore balance to the world.
And it's a moment of awe-inspiring power. Raziel descends upon Alicante, his presence both terrifying and majestic.
He sees through Valentine's manipulations, rejects his pleas for power, and ultimately brings about his downfall.
It's a victory, but a bittersweet one. Many lives are lost. Sacrifices made that will forever scar the Shadowhunter world.
And in the aftermath, we're left with a sense of both hope and uncertainty. Valentine is gone, but the scars of his actions remain.
The Shadowhunter world has changed. Alliances have shifted, and Clary and Jace face an uncertain future.
Their journey has been a roller coaster of emotions, betrayals, and shocking revelations.
They face darkness, loss, and the complexities of family ties.
And through it all, they found strength in each other, in their unique bond that transcends bloodlines and societal expectations.
City of Glass is a story about finding your own path, defying expectations, and fighting for what you believe in, even when the odds are stacked against you.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, There's always hope, always a chance for redemption, always a reason to fight for a better tomorrow.
And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into Cassandra Clare's City of Glass. Thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
And be sure to check out our next deep dive, where we'll be exploring another captivating world of fantasy and adventure.
Until then, happy reading.